So I've said it before, but there are so many places in season 4, in my opinion, where they just go slightly to the left of the interesting choice. And so I wanted to talk about this scene in that context in terms of its alternate Stancy, Stobin, Hellcheer, and Steddie potentials. So let's start with just how I would wholesale rewrite it. In my Ice Queen video a few back, I talked about how I wish that Robin had been the first one to jump in after Steve, because it would have emphasized the closest thing the show has to a theme, which is the power of friendship, and it would have given Nancy a chance to reflect on platonic relationships, something she hasn't been able to grapple with since Barb died. In that vein, I think boosting Eddie's emphasis on how he only came in because those ladies, plural, came in right after Steve would have been a great place for those platonic bonds to be focused on. Rather than just focusing on Nancy, he could have, speculated that both Nancy and Robin were vying for Steve's affection. And that would have been a great place for Steve to talk about how what is meaningful for him in these relationships is the friendship. And that would have also given him a great opportunity to tell Eddie again, hey, give yourself a break. We all run the first time we encounter this stuff, but we all as friends have each other's back, and you are part of that. Now, here's a second way that scene could have been a little bit different, keeping it closer to the original, but giving it an emotional core that makes sense. So it's weird that Eddie is focused on getting Steve and Nancy back together. He says himself he doesn't know why they broke up, but we do. And so it's very strange that he's really focused on it. But I think we can develop an Eddie reason, not a Steve reason, for why Eddie would be so fixated on getting Steve to take the chance he has before he loses it. In my Eddie the Coward videos, I talked about how Eddie's guilt could have been transformed in a more positive way, but I also think the show had a lot of potential to more openly engage with it in a canonical, gut-wrenching, doomed romance for Eddie and Chrissy. And just, do you know how hard a show has to fail at satisfying me for me to be wistful for a romance like this? But again, pushing things a little bit to the left would have made this particular brand of tragedy shine through. Push his dialogue from broad I'm a coward statements into specific I failed her stuff, like is kinda hinted at with this is for you and make him pay. In the conversation with Steve, make it clear that he's talking about himself when he talks of lost opportunities and true love. Not to keep harping on how preventable his death was through dumb mistakes. Zip your fucking armor, bro. But make it clear that he wasn't planning on surviving. There is a death cab for cutie tragedy right there, and I'm mad they didn't take it. But also that's sad. So let me conclude by talking about how I want this scene to show up in canon divergent Steddie fics. In a world where Eddie survives, I think it would be very funny and very likely for Steve to be reflecting on this conversation, realizing just how much Eddie is waxing rhapsodic about Wheeler, and conclude that Eddie has a crush on Nancy. He's still trying to understand that boy plus girl doesn't always mean romance, and boy plus boy doesn't always mean friendship. I just think it'd be really fun to watch Steve try and parse his jealousy over watching Eddie and Nancy interact, and it gives me a way to watch the scene in canon without wanting to rip my hair out.